I'm Caitlin, and if you stumbled upon my page, Warriors of Mental Health, here on YouTube, I'm hoping it is because you were looking for some answers or clarity for yourself, or you are here because you know of a friend who is in need of some help. This is my first video diary, so please bear with me. I am having a hard time understanding where my eyes need to go in relation to my phone, and I get a little nervous and I talk a lot. Basically, this first one is going to be about my story. I'm going to give a brief little overview, and the following diaries that I'm going to do, I'm going to try to do one once a week. I do get very busy with work, but I'm going to do once a week, not just talking about my story, but also giving ideas on how to help yourself and what I've learned from my recovery, different suggestions, different strategies, different meditations, exercises, even just listening to music, things like that have helped me on my path to recovery. But first, a little bit about myself. I had a complete and utter mental breakdown this past February of 2016. It wasn't the first one I've ever had, but this one was the worst one. I have high anxiety with OCD and trichotillomania. Basically, my mental illness started at the age of 8 with my binge eating. I did that to cope because there was a lot of change going on in my family life. And then trichotillomania, well, I'm going to call it Trick for short from now on, started at the age of 12. I was in grade 7. A lot of big changes were happening again. Nothing massive, but still changes. And I realized that I just don't deal well with change. And in order to cope with that, I would pull my hair from my root. And just things escalated from there. Basically, I became very impulsive with my spending because spending would give me a high and that would make me feel better. But then as soon as you realize you have no more money, it would bring you down to a big low, and then you pull out your hair to feel the root. And then just a huge roller coaster of emotions that were going on for me in my teenage years into my early 20s. I am 33 years old now. I have been in recovery for the last 7 months. I'm happy to say I am pull-free. Basically, from the whole crown of my head is pretty much gone. There is some regrowth definitely happening, which I'm very excited about. I used to pull from my eyebrows as well, and they are growing in quite nicely. I tried to pull from other areas, but it wasn't as satisfying, so thankfully I didn't have to deal with any of that. With my anxiety, I have a huge fear of judgment. I think people are looking at me all the time and judging me, so that's why I always had to have an air of perfection. Everything was always fine. Caitlin is always happy, always, doing well. Don't worry about me. Everything's fine. And I was able to pretty much fake that for quite some time. I needed to also have constant reeling thoughts in my head. Doesn't matter what it was. It's not like there's voices talking to my head, but it's just reeling thoughts. I get very fixated on things. I worry about things that will generally never happen. With my impulsive spending came some financial distress. That is one of the big reasons why I spiraled down and had my breakdown last winter. But I'm happy to say I'm here now, and fuck you, mental illness, basically. February 26th of 2016 was the day that changed my life. For a few months before that, I was just so depressed. I was starting to research how to take my own life. I figured that was the only way that I could end the pain that was going on in my head. I was in such a financial disarray. I had creditors coming after me. I would basically just go to work, come back to my apartment, get really high, and hang out with my cat and watch Netflix till 5 a.m. It was a very sad time for me, but at the same time, your head is telling you that everything is good because, that's what mental illness does to you. It plays games with your head. And so that night was the night I had a plan. I was going to take my own life. There's a swing bridge in town and I was going to hang myself from it. And I walked into work that day and my best friend asked me, "Hey, Caitlin, how's it going?" And I broke down. I knew I needed help. I knew I needed to make a change, and I just totally broke down and told her everything. And that started the ball rolling, and that is why I am still here today. So that night I went to crisis intervention in Sudbury, and then I was admitted into a hospital dealing with for mental illness patients. I was there for 2 weeks, and then I stayed living with my mom for another 2 months and did some intensive group therapy. And I am still in recovery mode. I will be for probably, I figure, another year and a half. It's just something that I'm learning to deal with. I'm learning to be open and honest with my anxieties and my OCD and my trichotillomania. And I find that the more I talk about it, the easier it is. And the more that I find I have in common with a lot more people than everybody's got something. That is one thing that I did learn, and that was one beneficial thing for me at group therapy, is that there were so many people out there with so many other things that they were going through, and I knew I could rally and help myself because I was not going to let my anxiety and OCD control me. I wanted to learn how to control it. One of the biggest factors for me was to be honest. I had a really hard time being honest with just about everybody in my life. I am so grateful that I have managed all of my friends and my family, who I love dearly, have stuck by me through this whole process, and I couldn't be more grateful. And one of the reasons is that I just had to be brutally honest with what I was going through. Even if it doesn't make sense to that person, it makes sense to you. So you need to just speak your mind. If something's going on, just say, "Hey, something's going on with me right now today, and something needs to change. I need some help. Can we go for a walk?" That, honestly, that's the first step. And once you start that process, it just becomes a lot easier. And then I also learned while I was in recovery was just to take it one day at a time. I had a thing where if things weren't solved within a day, then it was a disaster. One day at a time is basically the way that you get. Some days I just still don't want to get out of bed, but you have to force yourself. And then eventually, as you force yourself, things become easier. You get out of bed, you get showered, you get out during the day, and then you realize, hey, I'm out and about, I'm doing my stuff for the day, and life is great. Like, the sun is shining, let's go exercise. Yay! Sorry, that was a little weird. Also, one other thing that I learned was to find my passions. Right now, my passions are working out like crazy. While I was in the mental illness facility called Kirkwood in Sudbury, I had learned that doing half an hour a day of repetitive exercise will stimulate the neurons in your brain and make you get to this plateau where you don't even think about anything. And I kind of became a little obsessive with that. I'm starting to get a little better, but I was much heavier than I am today. I was 87 pounds heavier. So that means I've lost 87 pounds since February, and in 7 months, which is pretty incredible. My heart is thanking me. I am doing things that I never thought was possible. Like, I climbed a huge hill, not a huge hill, but I did a pretty big hike. It's called the Cup and Saucer where I live. I also am doing CrossFit, which is something I never thought I would be able to as well, because I just thought everybody would be judging me. But you know what? When you go there, everybody's sweating so much that it doesn't really matter what you're doing because they're concentrating on what they're doing the most. I don't want to babble on too much. Like I said, I'm going to try to do one video a week where I focus on different strategies that I learned with group, things that have helped me. The one thing that I do want to leave you with is the safety plan, the importance of a safety plan. This was the biggest thing for me when I was released from the hospital. I came up with a safety plan. It lists what my triggers are, which for me is having money. Right now I have my parents and one of my good friends monitoring my accounts. I'm proud to say that I do have a savings account, and I am starting to invest in my retirement. I actually invested in the stocks 2 weeks ago, which kind of like blew my mind that I could even do that. Like last year at this time, I was just in such dire straits that it didn't seem plausible. So other triggers for me are like tweezers, pot and alcohol. I can never do that. I've been completely sober for 7 months. Another trigger for me is the lack of sleep. If I don't get enough sleep, it just heightens everything for me. My anxiety, my impulsions, everything just gets that much more escalated. They had realized for me while I was in hospital that I had never hit REM for most of my life. Even my mom said like I was just a thrasher, kind of a sleeper. So they gave me some good drugs for that. So I get some of the best sleeps of my life now. Also, in my safety plan, it gives warning signs, what to look for physically, and the behaviors and the thoughts that I have. For me, thoughts were constant reeling thoughts. I was just never good enough. People were always judging me. My behaviors were I became very withdrawn. I call in sick because I couldn't get out of bed. I made last minute excuses a lot to get out of plans, which I felt terrible for, but my friends have forgiven me for that. And physical signs, like I would get very tense. My upper body would just become one big knot, become very fidgety, because if I can't pull hair, I would have to like play with my hands or something. I'm still getting over that. I'm still in recovery, but it is getting a lot better for me. And then a part of the safety plan is a list of things that people can ask me if they see these sort of warning signs. And then I should be able to, my promise to them would be to be honest with what's going on with me. If they want to see my bank account, I can show them. If I have an exercise plan, I should be able to talk about it. If I have a financial budget, I should be able to talk about it, sort of deal. If I didn't get out of bed that day, I wouldn't have anything to talk about that day, sort of thing. And then just to remind me how I could turn a bad day into a good one. I have an amazing cat named Marty. He is my life. I love spending time with him. He makes me so happy. Also, music is a huge part of my life. I am very passionate about music. It's one of the things that just warms my soul. And another big thing for me was finding my faith again. I grew up in a church, but I am now part of All Nations Church in Sudbury. I do live about an hour and a half away from Sudbury, but I am able to partake in it online as they live stream it, and they also put it in... they put it up the next day after it's been recorded and stuff, so I'm able to partake. Finding my faith was the huge thing for me. I always knew that there was a God. I did struggle in my teenage years, but ever since my heart has been open, I've been seeing the miracles of God and how he's just so wonderful. And if you open your heart to him, and this is not for me to be preachy, this is my own personal thing. You can find your own faith in whatever you want, but having a faith in something really helps you through it. You need to believe in something, I find, and God is that person for me. He's everything. So that being said, I'm going to end this. I can't believe I actually just talked for 13 minutes. Next week, I'm going to go into some strategies of what I have done. I might go into a bit more detail about my story. I'll put up some links that have helped me. So next week, I'm going to do the importance of meditation and self-grounding of yourself. It's important when you're feeling very intense and everything is very heightened, especially with my anxiety. That's how I feel. Everything's very heightened. I just feel like I can't bring myself down again. The importance to bring yourself back down, to ground yourself, even if it's just to lay on the ground and breathe for 5 seconds. That is something that anybody can do at any time. So with that being said, thank you for tuning in. I hope I didn't bore you too much. I'll get better, I promise, as the weeks go on. And please subscribe to my channel, and I'm going to leave my email that you can email any questions that you might have. I've gone through it. I am in recovery, and know that you can do it too, and it's not too late to start. And I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.